What's up, everybody? So I wanted to show y'all the mechanism here on this Saturn IV Ultra. So this is the first printer to do this. So you will see how that vat tilts down and then comes back up, and then the build plate comes up and then resets, and it prints another layer, and then the vat will tilt away and then repeat and repeat. So the way traditional resin printers work, you have your build plate comes down into the vat. Okay, now on the bottom of the vat you have a clear film called FEP. There's also film called ACF. There's several different types, but FEP is your most standard film, and it's just a clear plastic sheet, essentially. Think of it that way. But the way that traditional 3D resin printers work is they come down, they get just tiny distance away from the bottom of the vat and the LCD screen underneath that shines the ultraviolet light that cures individual portions of this UV resin, and then the build plate will raise up very slowly, and then it'll come up a little bit faster and then go down and reset. But the way that this mechanism works, in order to increase print speed, is that tilt mechanism. So basically the vat is doing like this. It just tilts down in the front and comes back up, tilts down in the front and comes back up. What that does is that reduces what's called the peel force. So where in traditional, the build plate has to be slow, because it's got to, once it prints, it's got to come up really slow in order to peel the model away from the film. If it comes up too fast, then it can pull the model away from the build plate. It can actually break the supports that are holding it to the build plate or whatever. But the way this does it is by doing that tilt, it's peeling the print away from the FEP instead of just pulling straight down. What that does is it reduces what's called the suction force. Okay, so when it prints on that FEP, it's creating a suction effect, because the tiny layer of resin that's underneath that model, it gets cured and then becomes solid, and then so there's a vacuum there. Okay, and so in traditional 3D printers, it has to raise up really slow in order to break that suction, and it has to do it slow, because if it does it too fast, like I said, it can pull them, especially if you're printing something with a large base. That's why it's best to get all your models up off the build plate and print them on supports, unless they have a really small base. But this eliminates that. So the vat tilting, it reduces the peel force, because it's just peeling, it's relieving that suction by just gradually dipping away from the build plate. So this is really cool. Just got the Saturn IV Ultra today with the wash station and the cure station. Now in the wash station, I'm not using isopropyl alcohol. I'm using Simple Green. Now in my use of it, my prints get just as clean using Simple Green. One thing, it's a lot cheaper than a giant gallon or more, because this is 7,000 milliliters. It's cheaper than IPA, the Simple Green, and it's biodegradable. This is perfectly okay to touch. This isn't caustic. This isn't, there's nothing dangerous about Simple Green. Simple Green is a very gentle cleaner, but it cleans the prints perfectly well. And so I just pop them in there. The only difference is that I have to blow the print off once it cleans, instead of just allowing it to basically evaporate, because the isopropyl alcohol will just gradually evaporate and dry on the model. Whereas with using Simple Green, I have to, dab it, dry it off, blow it off or something, and get it as dry as I can. But I've noticed using Simple Green, when I do cure, even if there's a little bit of moisture left on the surface or something like that, it doesn't get the shiny, like if you have excess alcohol left on your resin print, say it's not perfectly dry and you go to cure it, well, you'll get places on the model that'll have a very glossy, very shiny surface to it, because the isopropyl alcohol is affecting it when it cures. But I haven't had that issue with Simple Green. You can also use, you know, ultrasonic cleaners and things like that with Simple Green or whatever. I have my air filtration unit right over here by the resin printer. I don't have this exhausted out, but there are no smells of resin in my room right now. So it's, you know, if I was in a really small confined space with no airflow, no fresh air coming in, no air filter, I would want to vent this out. And it does have a port back there for venting this out, and there's already files that you can print, carbon filters and all kinds of stuff that will attach that there. I'm printing right now a adapter that goes on this mounting arm that will allow you, once the print's done, to slide it on, and then you can actually hang the build plate from that adapter, and it will allow the build plate to drain any excess resin from the model into the vat before you remove it. And I'm also printing 1/2 of a vat cover over here, so that if I'm not going to be using the printer for a while, I can cover the vat in order to kind of seal it off, instead of just leaving it open, exposed to the air and stuff like that. So anyway, we're already 49% complete. This had an estimate of 5 hours from the slicer, but this mechanism and the way that this printer works, I've only got, let's see, I'm half done, and we've been at this for about 2 hours. So I'll probably be an hour or more less than what the slicer said. So anyway, just wanted to show y'all that. Here we go, the Saturn IV Ultra.